3, 2, 1, on. Wow. See, I bring my own entrance music with me. Isn't that great? Isn't that great? All right. Listen to that. I'm better than an elevator. All right. The relationship between the United States and Latin America is very, very similar to the relationship between an older sibling and a younger sibling. Older brother, older sister, younger sister. Now, what does that mean? Well, think about the relationships that you know of. There's a certain type of love and protection. The older brother and sister will protect you from the world. However, they don't protect you from themselves, right? They smack you around, they tell you what to do, they tell you that you're doing something terrible. They kind of pretend that they're mom and dad. And they invoke from you things like, you're not mom, you can't tell me what to do, right? You've got yourself saying those things from time to time. More of my music, see? More of my music. So, that's precisely the relationship that you should be looking at. So, from time to time, the relationship is contentious, meaning there is a lot of friction between both sides. And if you come from a family where there's more than one older brother or sister, there's 3 or 4 kids, you know that the dynamics of the relationship is different. An older brother might be really, really close to the middle sister, but not to the brother immediately behind him, and so on, right? There's differences in the dynamics of the relationship between the United States and some of its, what it considers, younger brothers and sisters in Latin America. It all starts with Monroe. And you're probably thinking, who the heck is Monroe? Monroe was a president of the United States. And Monroe, like presidents of the United States, say things. Some presidents can back them up, some presidents can't. And Monroe said something. And what Monroe said was, Europe, stay out of American business. Stay away. This is our business. We're the sheriff in town. You guys stay away. Only problem with Monroe is the United States didn't have a way of stopping Europe from doing anything. But he said it. And then Monroe is kind of forgotten. He's no president anymore. A whole bunch of presidents come in. Teddy Roosevelt becomes president of the United States. Teddy Roosevelt becomes president of the United States at a time when the United States actually can do something about it. We are now strong enough. You see, Teddy used to be the Secretary of the Navy. The Navy for Teddy Roosevelt is a big thing. Today, we don't consider the Navy a big thing because it's not sexy. These are people in boats. People in boats. You know, we think about the Marines, which, by the way, started as part of the Navy. We think about the Air Force, the Army. They're on the ground. They're shooting at people. There's action. Navy, boats, like in the bathtub. You know, they don't. But back then, the Navy was a big thing. Let me tell you why the Navy was a big thing. If you were in Europe and you want to attack the United States, you couldn't. You couldn't. Why? Because you would have to send a Navy over. The Navy would have to have enough people to invade the entire United States. You know how difficult that is? It's very difficult. So, most of the fighting took place in the water. So having a strong Navy meant a lot. And the United States, during the period of Teddy Roosevelt, built a very strong and powerful Navy. And therefore, in his saying, the Navy, let's wait to see if she drops it all over herself. Okay. The Navy was his big stick. You know that saying in that cartoon in the pages where it says that he has a favorite saying, an African favorite saying, which is speak softly and carry a big stick? His big stick was the U.S. Navy. Are you all finished? Okay, great. So, and that's why in the cartoon, Teddy Roosevelt is walking around with a big stick and there's a whole bunch of Navy ships behind him because that was the power behind the United States. Okay? So, Roosevelt now becomes President of the United States. And as President of the United States, he sees the Monroe Doctrine. And the Monroe Doctrine says, Europe, stay away. Monroe couldn't do anything about it, but now Teddy can. And he changes it a little bit. He changes the Monroe Doctrine a little bit. And that's what the weird word corollary means. The Roosevelt corollary to the Monroe Doctrine really means the Roosevelt change. And let me explain to you his change. Roosevelt, now in the United States, he's President of the United States, says, Europe, stay away. Don't want you to get involved. Europe's answer is, but we loan money to those people. They don't want to pay us back. What do you want us to do? Lose our money? He said, I don't care what you do, stay away. So, if you are Europe, and Roosevelt tells you, you cannot collect, you can't get your money back by sending your troops there. The next time Latin America comes and says, could you give me a loan, are you going to give them a loan? No, because they take your money and they don't pay you back, because Roosevelt is there standing in between saying, you stay away, we're not going to let you invade. So Roosevelt realizes that. And he realizes that getting Latin America not to pay their debts is not a good thing. It's like, you know, telling your kids they don't have to pay for the things that they owe. At the beginning it might sound like a great thing, but over time, what you're creating are deadbeats. People just don't pay what they owe. So Roosevelt realized that and said, okay, we understand. I understand that Latin America needs to pay their debts. I don't want the Europeans here. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to have kind of an agreement. Okay? And the agreement is this. You lend them money. If they don't pay you, we'll collect for you. We will use our international police power, whatever that is, and we'll go in there and we'll shake them up and make sure that they pay you. It's kind of like the big brother saying, you know, lend the money to my kid brother, and if he doesn't pay you, you can't beat him up because he's my kid brother. But I'll beat him up for you, and I'll get him to pay you. That's kind of what Roosevelt said. So that was his corollary. His corollary was to use the U.S. military force in making sure that this agreement between Europe and Latin America got done. If you're Latin America, are you really happy with the United States? No. Who are they? Who died and made them boss? You know, who are they to tell us that we have to pay somebody? What if we don't want to pay somebody? What if we don't really owe them money? Why are they going to come and tell us to do something? They're not our bosses. Okay? Same thing. Big brother, little brother situation. So, and Roosevelt does more. Roosevelt takes advantage of being a big brother. Sometimes big brothers are bullies, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah, sometimes they are. Are you speaking from personal experience? I am taping you and I'll give it to Nick.
Yes.
You want to say anything about Nick? Nick is a great guy.
He is.
Just like me.
All right.
He's the bully.
Okay, say hi. Alright. But sometimes they're bullies. And the United States wanted to get its way. It's, to a certain extent, it feels, let me try to explain this to you, because it's not easy to understand. The United States feels that it is being fair. It feels that it is being fair. Sometimes the big sibling thinks that they're being fair to you. And you kind of realize, that ain't fair. It's fair to them, it's not fair to me. How did they feel that they were being fair? Well, let's take the Panama Canal, for example. The United States is negotiating with Colombia because they want to build this canal. And the canal is a really good idea. Forget it, it's a good idea. As a matter of fact, Colombia and France had entered into an agreement, and the French just couldn't build the canal because they hadn't solved the yellow fever problem, and a lot of French people died. So the French couldn't build the canal, and the United States said to Colombia, we'll build the canal. We'll get it done. We know how to do those things. And they couldn't agree. Colombia wanted more than the United States was willing to pay. So far, that's okay. It's like, if you've got a jacket and you want to sell it, and I say, okay, I'll buy it from you. And then you turn around and say, no, I don't want to sell it to you. It's your jacket, you don't have, it doesn't sound fair, but it's your jacket. You don't have to sell it to me, right? So Colombia said, no, we're not gonna enter into that agreement with you. So generally, even though the United States felt, it's a good thing, the canal, and it's probably not fair for them to do it, it's their land. We shouldn't be bullies and take it from them. So what does the United States do? It becomes bullies. It learns that there is this, within quotation, revolution about to take place. No revolution was going to take place. One of the American advisors came up with the idea, let's have a revolution. So, okay, if the Panamanians want to have a revolution, let the Panamanians have a revolution. We're not the Panamanians, we're not the Colombians, let's stay out of it. So the United States stay out of it. No. They send Navy ships to prevent the Colombians to come over, because apparently there's a lot of forests. Colombia, if you think about South America, draw a picture of South America in your mind's eye. I want everybody to think about South America. The connection between South America and the rest of North American continent is the isthmus, that little thin strip of land where is Panama. Well, once you start going into the big body of the land, that first entrance is Colombia. Okay? On top you have Venezuela, and some of you understand where Venezuela is. Well, Colombia is right there. Okay? But there are forests that are very thick, or were very thick during that period of time, and to get the Colombian military from the body of Colombia into the isthmus was difficult. And it was dangerous too because of those mosquitoes with yellow fever and stuff like that. So generally Colombia would have sent their navy, their soldiers, in the water. But not with an American big battleship pointing at them. So what happens? The Colombians don't get there. The Panamanians, without opposition, win the war. They automatically, the Panamanians say, hey, we've got a new country. The United States says, yeah, you do. We recognize you. The recognition of a country by other countries is a big thing. Okay, it's a big thing. The United States said, we recognize Panama, it's a new country. And by the way, Panama, remember we wanted that canal area. Right? That little thing, just a little bit of land, we can just put a thing there and water on both sides. Panamanians said, sure, you lend us your neighbor's ships. Give us some money, we'll lease you the land. And the United States and Panama entered into an agreement where the United States agreed to build the canal in exchange for a 99-year lease. That's a long time. And the United States would pay Panama a certain amount of money at the beginning and about $250,000 a year for the 99 years. That seems like a lot of money, but think about it.
Hello.
Most of you live in houses that are worth a lot more than $250,000. And for a country, that's tip money. So the United States wanted a canal. Colombia didn't want to give them a canal. There's a canal there now. So did the United States act as a bully?
Yes.
Yes. They did. At the end, is the world better for them acting as a bully? Yes, but you don't judge things based on the outcome.